Hey everyone! Hope you're all in a good mood today because I've got a new story for you. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, it really means a lot to me. Am I the jerk for refusing to move in with a boyfriend who folds pizza boxes into origami and won't throw a single one away? There are 140-something pizza boxes in my boyfriend's apartment folded into little geometric shapes, and he calls them his collection. And I told him I will not sign a lease with him until they're gone, and now his family thinks I'm the cruel one, so here we are. I'm 27, Francisco is 30, we've been together a year and a half. And I know how this sounds. I know he collects pizza boxes reads like a quirky guy story like, oh haha, my weird artsy boyfriend. But you have to sit in that apartment to understand. They're everywhere. They're on top of the cabinets. They're lined up along the baseboards. There's a shelf, an actual shelf he installed, dedicated to the ones he's most proud of. The ones he folded into these star things and swan things, and he dusts them. He dusts the pizza boxes. And here's the thing that took me embarrassingly long to clock, which is that they're not clean boxes. Some of them he wiped down, but a lot of them still have the grease ghost on the cardboard. The orange shadow, and once you notice the smell, you cannot unnotice it. The whole place has this faint old cheese and cardboard thing going, that he swears isn't there because he's nose blind to it after years. Years. He's been doing this since before we met. He just never had me over enough early on to see the full scope, because we mostly stayed at mine. So the whole reason this even came to a head is we decided to move in together, which was my idea, I'll own that, and the natural plan was I'd give up my place and move into his, because his is bigger and cheaper. And I go over to start figuring out what furniture goes where, and I'm standing in what's supposed to become our living room, and it is a pizza box museum, and I go, okay, so these are going right like as a given, like obviously. And he looked at me like I'd suggested we drown a pet. He was genuinely wounded. He started explaining the collection to me like I was a slow child. This one's from the place that closed down. This one's from our third date, do you not remember? He'd kept the box from a date and folded it into a little heart-adjacent lump, and I was supposed to be touched. And I was standing there going, I cannot live inside your garbage sculptures, Francisco. And that's the word that did it. Garbage. I called them garbage. And he went off. And look, I tried to be nice about it first, I did. I said, what if we keep like 5? The really special ones. The date one, whatever. We frame a couple, and the rest we recycle, compromise, adults, right? And he said choosing 5 would be impossible. That each one is a memory. That I was asking him to pick which memories to kill. Kill, about cheese cardboard. And I'm standing there thinking I'm about to co-sign a 12-month lease with a man who is more emotionally attached to a Domino's box than most people are to their childhood pets. But okay, that's between us. That's a normal-ish couple fight. Where it got messy is the families, because these people would not stay out of it. His mom, Vera. Oh my God. So Francisco calls his mom, because of course he does. And next thing I know, Vera is texting me these long messages about how Francisco has always been sentimental and creative, and that a supportive partner nurtures that. And how his last girlfriend tried to change him, and looked how that ended. Framing the pizza boxes as this beautiful, tender quality, and me as some cold woman trying to bulldoze his soul. And I find out from his sister Camilla, who I actually like, that Vera has kept every single thing Francisco has ever made since he was 4. Like there's a whole room at Vera's house. So this isn't a Francisco problem, this is a nature and nurture situation. This is a man who was raised to believe throwing anything away is a moral failure. And Camilla, God bless her, Camilla is the one who told me the real backstory. That the collection started after their dad Roy left. That Francisco was like 19 and started keeping the boxes from the pizza nights he and Roy used to have. And I did not know that. And honestly, that made me feel like a monster for about a day. Until Camilla also told me that Roy's been back in the picture for years. They're fine now. They get pizza together still. So it's not even a grief thing anymore. It's just a habit that calcified into a personality. Camilla thinks the boxes are insane too. For the record, she's on my side, which caused its own problem because now Vera thinks Camilla and I are ganging up. And those two got into it at a family dinner I wasn't even at, over pizza boxes. Over my boyfriend's pizza boxes, and Camilla called me after crying because Vera told her she was disloyal. Meanwhile, my side. I made the mistake of venting to my sister Skylar and my mom's reaction was that I need to run. Not because of the boxes exactly, but because she says the boxes are a symptom. That a grown man who can't let go of trash and whose mommy fights his battles is showing me exactly who he is, and I should believe him. And Skylar, who's blunter, just said I was being dramatic. And that every guy has some weird thing, and at least his weird thing is boxes and not like gambling. and that I'd found a decent man and was going to blow it up over cardboard. And then my mom and my sister got into it, so now both families have a civil war going, and the epicenter is a stack of folded pizza boxes. I tried one more real conversation with him. Sat him down, no attacking. And I said, I need you to hear that this isn't about the boxes. It's about the fact that when I asked for one thing, for our shared home, you called your mom to recruit her against me instead of talking to me. And he flipped it. Said I was the one who made it a family thing by telling Skylar. Which, fair, kind of. Except he started it. He called Vera first. And we went in circles on who told who like that was the actual issue. And it never once got back to the boxes. Because it turns out the boxes were never really the boxes. And he will not budge. That's the part I keep chewing on. He offered, as his big compromise, that he'd move the collection into the second bedroom and keep the door closed. That was it. That was the peace treaty. A whole room of our new place, sealed off, a shrine. And I'm supposed to just know it's there behind the door, breathing its little grease breath. Forever. And probably growing. Because he is not going to stop getting pizza. So I said I couldn't do it. I'm keeping my apartment. The move is off for now. And the second I said that, he told everyone I ended things over pizza boxes. And Vera is telling the whole family I'm shallow and controlling and couldn't accept her son. And some of his friends, Ozzy and Randy and Tyler, are all in on the bit now. Calling me the girl who dumped a guy over recycling, haha. And even a couple people on my side are like, was it really worth it? Over boxes. Except it was never about the boxes. It was about a man who'd rather live in a museum of grease with the door closed than move one thing for me. And who calls his mother to referee. And who let both our families go to war rather than just say okay. You're right, they're garbage. They're garbage though, am I the jerk? Am I the jerk for showing my roommate every receipt that her boyfriend was also seeing our barista, and a girl from her group project? So Winnie found out because I laid it all out on our kitchen table like I was presenting a court case. And now half our floor thinks I'm the villain. So I need strangers to tell me if I actually am. Let me back up because this got insane. Winnie and I have shared a place off campus since sophomore year. We're both 20 now. And honestly, we started as random assignment roommates and somehow it worked. She's the kind of person who remembers your coffee order and cries at dog videos. Genuinely sweet, maybe too trusting. And I say that with love because it's exactly the trait that got her here. She started dating Florian back in September. He was in her orbit through some mutual friend thing. Tall, talked a lot, always had a story about why he was late. From the jump, something about him felt off to me, but I couldn't explain it. And you can't tell your roommate her new boyfriend gives you a weird feeling based on nothing. So I kept it to myself and figured I was being judgmental. Here's where it starts. Our raw is this girl, Ramona, lives on the floor below in the sophomore dorm, where Winnie still has a meal plan connection. And she and Winnie are friendly. Like borrow a phone charger friendly. Around Halloween, I ran into Ramona at a party and she was gushing about her new guy. How he surprised her with tickets. How he was different. And she pulled out her phone to show me a picture. And it was Florian. Same green jacket he always wore. Same everything. I did the thing where you laugh it off and go, oh, that's so nice, while your brain is doing math. I didn't say anything to Ramona because what was I going to say? That's my roommate's boyfriend? I wasn't even 100% sure. Green jackets exist. Guys who look similar exist. I told myself I was being crazy and I went home and said nothing, and that's the part I actually feel guilty about. Because if I'd said something that night, maybe this doesn't drag out for 2 months. But I didn't. I convinced myself I saw wrong. Then it kept happening. There's a coffee place near the library. Marie works the morning counter there, and I go enough that we're on a first-name basis. Sometime in November, I'm waiting for my order, and Marie is telling the other barista about this guy who's been coming in, buying her stuff, walking her to her car after close. And she says his name, and it's Florian. And she describes the jacket, and I just stood there holding my oat milk latte like an idiot. 2 isn't a coincidence anymore. 2 is a pattern. But I still didn't have anything concrete. I had 2 women talking about a guy with a common first name and a jacket. And I knew if I went to Winnie with vibes, she'd defend him and it would blow up our whole living situation over what could technically still be nothing. So I did what I'm apparently good at. Which is nothing. Again, what actually cracked it open was the group project. And this is the part where I stopped being able to look away. Winnie had a big assignment for one of her classes, and she'd talk about her group constantly. And there was a girl in it, Lydia, that Winnie actually liked. Said she was funny. Said they were getting food after their meetings. So one night, Winnie is showing me photos from a group study session, just casually scrolling. And there's Lydia in the background of one shot and Florian is in it too, at the edge. And Winnie goes, oh yeah, Florian came to pick me up that day. Fine, normal. Except a week later, I'm on Instagram and Lydia's posted a story. And it's her and a guy. And the guy is Florian. And the caption is one of those dumb inside joke things that you only write about someone you're actually seeing. And now I'm sitting on my bed at midnight realizing my roommate's boyfriend is somehow entangled with our barista, and a girl in her own group project. A girl Winnie eats lunch with. 4. It was 4 including Winnie. I want to be clear about how I got the actual proof because I know someone's going to ask if I snooped through his phone or hacked something. And no, I didn't do anything sneaky like that. What I did was I started paying attention. And I started screenshotting things that were already public, or already shown to me. Ramona had posted stuff. Marie had literally narrated their thing to me at a counter. Lydia's story was public for anyone to see. I saved it all. I wasn't building a case to be dramatic. I was building it because I knew that the second I opened my mouth, Florian was going to look Winnie in the eyes and tell her I was jealous, or that I was making things up, or that I'd always had it out for him. And I needed her to be looking at receipts, not listening to my feelings against his. The night I decided to actually do it wasn't planned. We were both home. It was a random day in early December. Finals were coming up, so neither of us was sleeping much anyway. And Florian had just texted her something that made her light up and start typing back all giggly. And I watched her do that, and I thought about Marie describing him walking her to her car, and I just couldn't sit on it for one more minute. So I told her I needed to show her something and to please just look before she said anything. I had it all in a folder on my phone by then, organized by date because I'm apparently that person now. And I put my phone down on the kitchen table and I walked her through it. She did not react the way I thought she would. I braced for her to cry or to yell at him. And instead, the first thing she did was get angry at me. She wanted to know why I'd been collecting this, how long I'd known, why I didn't come to her the second I saw Ramona's photo in October. And that one landed because she was right. I'd sat on it. And I didn't have a good answer except that I wasn't sure and I was scared of exactly this, of being the roommate who blew up her relationship. She said I'd basically been watching her get played for 2 months and saying nothing, spying while she looked stupid, and honestly in that moment I felt like garbage, because from where she sat that's what it looked like. She called him. Not texted, called, right there, on speaker, and this is where it gets worse. He didn't crumble. He didn't confess. None of that. He went straight to explaining. The Ramona thing was apparently a misunderstanding. They'd talked once. The tickets were a group thing. Everyone was going. Marie was just a girl who makes his coffee, and she'd clearly gotten the wrong idea because he was friendly. He's a friendly person. That's not a crime. And Lydia, he actually tried to flip onto Winnie, saying he only knew Lydia through Winnie's project. Like Winnie had introduced them. Like it was Winnie's fault they'd even met. He had an answer for everything, and the answers almost worked. They were smooth. And I watched my roommate start to soften and start nodding, and I realized he was going to talk his way out of 4 different women. Because he was good at it, he'd probably been good at it the whole time. So I did the thing that I think is the actual reason people are mad at me. I didn't let it go. While he's on speaker doing his whole everyone's misunderstanding me routine, I pulled up Lydia's story with the caption, and I read it out loud, the specific inside joke words. And I asked him to explain how a girl he only knew through the project was posting private couple stuff about him. And he got loud. He started going off about how I was obsessed with him, how I'd clearly been stalking his life, how what kind of person makes a folder, turning the whole thing into a referendum on me being unhinged instead of him being caught. And the thing is, that landed for Winnie a little, because it's a good deflection. Because now instead of 4 women, there's just me and my creepy folder. They didn't break up that night. That's the part that kills me. She hung up shaken but not done, and she spent the next few days talking to him privately. And I know he was feeding her the version where I'm the problem. The jealous roommate who wanted to sabotage her happiness because maybe I even wanted him myself. Which, no, absolutely not. But it's the oldest move in the book, and it works. Because it's easier to believe your roommate is jealous than to believe you got humiliated in front of your whole floor. It got messier from there, because these aren't strangers. They're all people in our actual daily life. Ramona is our raw. So now there's this horrible tension every time Winnie has to go down to that floor. And Ramona found out about Winnie the same way, through the grapevine. And Ramona is furious but not at Florian. At first she was mad at Winnie like Winnie was the other woman, when Winnie was technically the main girlfriend. And those two had to have a whole excruciating conversation about who was seeing him first, and who knew what, standing in a dorm hallway. And it did not go well. Marie found out because Lydia and Marie apparently have a mutual friend. And now Marie won't make eye contact with me at the coffee place. I think because she's embarrassed I was there when she was talking him up. And I feel bad because I never meant for her to feel stupid. None of them were stupid. He lied to all of them. My own family got dragged in a little because I called my older sister Erica halfway through this whole thing losing my mind. And she told me I should have stayed out of it. That you never come between a friend and her boyfriend because you always end up the bad guy. And even if you're right, you're wrong. And maybe she has a point. Winnie's mom apparently thinks I'm a bad influence now. Thinks I've been stirring drama. Because that's the story that got back to her. Here's where it actually stands. Winnie and Florian are in some on-again limbo. She's not fully out. He's still in her ear. And our apartment is basically silent. She thinks I humiliated her on purpose. That I could have just told her quietly instead of the table, the folder, the whole presentation, reading Lydia's caption out loud on speaker. And I get that. But I also know that if I'd said one soft sentence, he'd have talked over it. So I brought receipts, because receipts were the only thing he couldn't smile his way out of. Except, apparently he could. Because he turned 4 girlfriends into me having a weird obsession. So am I the jerk? I have 3 other girls who got lied to who'd probably thank me. And 1 roommate who won't look at me and thinks I ruined her life. And a guy who walked out of this looking better than I did. Am I the jerk for refusing to move across the country with a man who still asks his mother which socks to wear? I need internet strangers to settle this, because my own family is split down the middle and I'm starting to think I'm the crazy one. So Emiliano and I have been together almost 3 years. I'm 29, he's 31. And about a month ago he sat me down and told me he'd accepted a job across the country. And that he wanted me to come with him, quit my job, leave everything, and start over with him somewhere I've never been. And I said no. And the reason I said no is the same reason I've been quietly losing my mind for 3 years. Which is that this man cannot make a single decision without calling his mother Sheila first. And I do mean single. I mean I have watched him text her a photo of 2 pairs of socks to ask which ones went with his outfit. He was 31 years old standing in our bedroom, holding socks up to the light waiting for her verdict. And everyone's like, okay, so he's close with his mom. That's sweet. And no. You don't understand. Let me paint the actual picture because close with his mom makes it sound like they get brunch. When we first started dating, I thought it was endearing. Honestly. He'd call her every day and I thought, aw, a man who loves his mother. Green flag, right? Then we moved in together at the 2-year mark, and living with it 24/7 was a completely different animal. Sheila had opinions on everything, and Emiliano treated those opinions like scripture. What couch we bought, she had to approve the fabric. What we ate, she'd call during dinner, and he'd describe the meal to her like a food critic, and she'd tell him whether it was healthy enough. He would not book a dentist appointment without asking her which dentist. He asked her opinion on a haircut I gave a compliment on, like my compliment didn't count until it was ratified by headquarters. The socks thing wasn't even the worst. It was just the moment I realized how deep it went. Because the socks were black. Both pairs. Both black. And he still needed a ruling. I tried to talk to him about it so many times, and every conversation went the exact same way. He'd tell me I was being dramatic, that I just didn't understand their bond because my family isn't as close as his. Which, first of all, low blow. And second of all, my family is plenty close. We just don't need each other's permission to buy shampoo. He'd say Sheila had good taste and good judgment, and why wouldn't he use a resource that was right there? Like his mother was a consulting firm. And when I pushed harder, he'd go quiet and then call her. And I swear to God, I think he was calling her to complain about me. Because the temperature between me and Sheila dropped about 40 degrees over the last year, and I couldn't figure out why until I started catching pieces of it. Here's where it gets messy, and I need you to stay with me. The job came up in the fall. He got the offer, and before he even told Emmy, he'd told her. Let that sit. He found out about a life-changing decision that would uproot the woman he lives with. And the first call he made was to his mother. And by the time he brought it to me, it wasn't a conversation. It was an announcement. Because Sheila had already helped him decide he was taking it. So when I said I wasn't ready to quit my job and move across the country in 6 weeks for a plan I'd had zero input on, he acted genuinely shocked. Like, why wouldn't I just be on board? And I found out later the reason he was so confident I'd say yes is that Sheila had told him I'd fall in line. She'd apparently been telling him for months that I was difficult, but that I'd come around. That all women make noise and then follow. And that he shouldn't let me have too much say or I'd walk all over him. My boyfriend's mother was running a whole campaign in my own relationship, and I didn't even have a seat at the table. I confronted him about it, and this turned into the biggest fight we've ever had. I told him flat out that I couldn't marry a man whose mom was the actual decision maker in our house. That if we moved across the country, I'd have no job, no family, no friends, and be completely dependent on a man who couldn't pick socks alone. And he didn't hear the socks part as a problem. He heard it as me insulting his mother, and he defended her. He actually said I was jealous of his relationship with Sheila, jealous of a woman who has to approve the sofa. And it didn't stay between us, because that's the whole problem with these people. It's never just two people, it's always three. He called her. Of course he called her. And within an hour she called ME, which she never does, and she got into it. Told me I was trying to isolate her son from his family, that a good partner supports a man's career, that in her day women didn't make a man choose between his future and his girlfriend's little job. My little job. I've had that job 6 years. And I'm standing in my kitchen getting lectured by a woman who once made her adult son send her a photo of a rental car before he signed for it. And Emiliano is just standing there letting her talk, not defending me once. That's when I called my sister Alicia because I needed someone to tell me I wasn't insane. And Alicia came over that same night, and this is where my family split. Because Alicia took one look at the situation and told me to run. No hesitation. Said she'd been biting her tongue for 2 years, and that watching Emiliano FaceTime his mom from our bathroom was one of the strangest things she'd ever witnessed in her life. But then I made the mistake of telling my mom. And my mom took his side. Sort of. Not fully. But she said 3 years is a long time, and that a mama's boy is better than a lot of alternatives. And that I was throwing away a good stable man over personality quirks. She kept calling it a quirk. A grown man asking permission to exist is a quirk now. So now it's not just me versus Emiliano. It's Alicia versus my mom. And they got into it at my own kitchen table. My sister telling my mother she was teaching me to settle. My mother telling my sister she was bitter and putting ideas in my head. And I'm sitting there watching my family fight about my relationship while the actual boyfriend is in the other room. And guess what he was doing? On the phone. With Sheila. Giving her a live update. He left the room during the biggest crisis of our relationship to go report to his mother. I lost it. I went in there and told him to hang up, and he wouldn't. He held up a finger at me, the wait finger, while his mom talked, in the middle of me trying to save our entire relationship. And something about that finger just ended it for me. I said if he didn't hang up the phone, we were done, and he looked at me and he didn't hang up the phone. He chose the call. He put me on hold as a human being. He denies that's what happened, by the way. His version, which he's been telling everyone including my own mother, is that I gave him an insane ultimatum and blew up a good relationship because I have a problem with his family. And he's got Sheila backing that version to anyone who'll listen, telling people I'm controlling and that I tried to cut her son off from her. She's spinning it that I'm the possessive one. Me, the one who just wanted to buy a couch without a committee. It's been 3 weeks, and it's a stalemate. He hasn't fully moved out, and neither have I. We're doing this awful thing where we live in the same space and barely talk, and every couple days he tries again. Comes to me all reasonable and says, we can make the move work. We can figure out my job later. Like the socks thing and the campaign and the phone finger just didn't happen. And every time, halfway through the conversation, his phone lights up with Sheila and he glances at it. And I watch him decide whether to answer, and the fact that it's even a decision tells me everything. He keeps saying I'm asking him to choose between me and his mother, and that no reasonable woman would make him do that. And I keep telling him I'm not asking him to choose his mother. I'm asking him to be a person who can choose his own socks. And he genuinely cannot hear the difference. To him, those are the same sentence. My mom still thinks I'm making a mistake. She called yesterday to tell me stable men don't grow on trees and that I'll regret this when I'm 40 and alone. And now I've got that in my head too. Alicia thinks my mom is projecting her own bad marriage onto me. They're barely speaking. Emiliano's telling our whole mutual friend group I abandoned him over nothing right when he got the biggest opportunity of his life. And some of them believe him because on paper girlfriend won't support boyfriend's dream job sounds bad. Until you know that the dream job came pre-approved by his mother and I was just expected to sign where Sheila indicated. So that's where I am. I'm 29, I might be single, my family's at war, his mother thinks I'm a monster, and half our friends think I torched a good thing because I couldn't handle a man loving his mom. Am I the jerk for refusing to give up my entire life to follow a man across the country when the man can't even get dressed without a phone call? Am I the jerk for dumping him after he made a tier list ranking my friends and put my best friend in A and me in B? I found a tier list my boyfriend of 2 years made of all my friends, ranked them like Pokemon, put my best friend in the top tier and put me, his actual girlfriend, 1 tier below her. And I ended things over it, and now I'm getting told by people I overreacted to a joke. So I need outside opinions before I lose my mind. Let me explain, because typed out like that it sounds insane, and honestly it kind of is. Vincent and I had been together 2 years. I'm 26 and he's 28. And for most of that time things were genuinely good. He's the funny guy in the group. The one who makes the memes, does the bits, has a running joke for every person he meets. That's part of why I liked him. But there was always this thing underneath where the jokes had a little too much accuracy to them. Like he'd clock exactly what made you insecure and then joke about it. And if you didn't laugh, you were sensitive and couldn't take it. I told myself that was just his humor, and everyone in the group did it back to him, so it was fine. For context on the friend group, because it matters, my best friend is Alexandra. We've been attached at the hip since we were 15. And Vincent has known her almost as long as he's known me, because we all run in the same circle. Then there's Adriana, Amelia, Stephanie, Lena, and Josephine. That's basically the core of us. Plus the boyfriends and Vincent's friends, Damien and Leonard, who float in and out. We do everything together. Group trips, game nights, the whole thing. So when I say he made a tier list of my friends, understand that these are real people I love, not abstract acquaintances. Here's how I found it. We share a laptop for like Netflix and printing stuff. Totally normal shared household situation. And I opened it to print a form and there was a doc left open. And it wasn't hidden or password protected or anything, it was just sitting there. And it was titled with all our names basically. And it was a full tier list. S, A, B, C, D tiers of my friends, ranked, with little notes next to some of the names. And I want to be clear, at first I actually laughed, because I thought it was one of his bits, like a funny group thing he was going to present at game night. We do dumb stuff like that. So I started reading it as a joke. Alexandra was in S tier, top of the whole thing, with a note about how she gets it and is actually fun. Fine, Adriana and Amelia were in A, Stephanie was in B, Lena in C, Josephine, my sweet friend Josephine, who has never done anything to anyone, was in D with a note that just said tolerable in small doses, which, first of all, rude, second of all, wrong. And then, I found my own name. I scrolled and I was looking for it half laughing still, and I was in B tier. B. Below Alexandra. Below Adriana and Amelia. His girlfriend of 2 years, ranked in the middle of the pack of my own friends. One full tier under my best friend, with a note next to my name that I've now read probably 100 times. That said sweet, but kind of a lot lately. Kind of a lot lately. I sat there for a while just reading it over and over trying to make it be a joke, and the more I read, the less funny it got. Because it wasn't random, he'd clearly thought about it. The notes were specific. He had reasons. He'd sat down and genuinely evaluated the women I love, and me, and decided my best friend outranked me, and then written it down like a spreadsheet. So I confronted him when he got home, and this is where it went from bad to so much worse. Because I expected him to be mortified. To say it was a stupid throwaway thing, delete it, apologize. Instead, he got defensive immediately, and told me I wasn't supposed to see it. Like the problem was my snooping and not the content. On a shared laptop. On a doc he left open. And when I pushed on why I was in B tier under Alexandra, he doubled down. He actually defended the rankings. He explained his reasoning to me like I was going to nod along. He said Alexandra is just easier to be around. She doesn't take everything so seriously. She doesn't make things heavy. And that lately I'd been a lot with wanting to talk about our relationship and where things were going. And that's what dropped me to B. So he penalized me, his girlfriend, for caring about our relationship, and rewarded my best friend for being low maintenance and fun to hang out with, and could not understand why I was upset. And then he said the thing that I genuinely can't get past. He said if I really wanted to know, in terms of who he'd rather just spend a day with, no pressure, no drama, it would honestly be Alexandra. And he said it like it was a reasonable thing to say out loud to the person you're dating. He wasn't even saying he had feelings for her. And I want to be fair about that. I don't think this was a he's secretly in love with my best friend situation. It was almost worse. It was that he'd ranked me against my own friends as hangout options, and I came up short, and he saw nothing wrong with telling me that to my face. I told him we were done that night. And I thought that would be the end of it, but it exploded outward. Because of course it did. Because now there's a tier list of 6 women out in the world, and those 6 women are my friends. Because here's what I did, and you can tell me if this part makes me the I was so upset that I told Alexandra everything. Obviously, she's my best friend. That's who I call. And Alexandra was horrified. Both that I got ranked under her, and that Josephine got called tolerable in small doses. And Alexandra has a big mouth when she's angry. And within about a day, the whole group knew there was a tier list, and roughly where everyone landed. And that lit the entire friend group on fire. Josephine was crushed, genuinely hurt. She cried. She'd always thought Vincent liked her. Lena was furious about being in C. Adriana and Amelia were smug about being an A, and honestly that caused its own fight because Stephanie found out she was under them and got weird about it. And suddenly my friends were mad at each other over rankings a man made, like he'd planted a bomb in the middle of us and walked away. And a chunk of the group landed on it being partly my fault for telling everyone. Amelia said I should have kept it to myself, that I detonated the group over a breakup, that Josephine never needed to know she was in D. And she's not entirely wrong that Josephine would have been happier not knowing. But was I supposed to just sit on the fact that our boyfriend was privately grading us? Vincent, meanwhile, is doing damage control, but his version is that it was a joke taken way out of context, and that I weaponized a private doc and turned everyone against him. And get this. Some of the guys, Damien and Leonard, are backing him, saying it was just a dumb bit and I ended a 2-year relationship over a joke, and then torched the friend group for fun. And even a couple of the girls have softened toward him because he's charming. And he's playing it as me being unhinged and oversensitive, which, you'll notice, is exactly the note he wrote next to my name. Kind of a lot lately. He's using the tier list defense to defend the tier list. So now the group's fractured, half of them think I overreacted. Josephine's barely talking to anyone because she's embarrassed. Alexandra feels guilty for being an S like it's her fault. And I'm single and apparently the villain who blew everything up. But I keep coming back to the same thing. He sat down and made a ranked list of the women in my life and put me below my best friend, and wrote that I was a lot for wanting our relationship to go somewhere. That's not a joke I misread. That's just what he thinks. Formatted, am I the jerk for dumping him over a tier list? Am I the jerk for refusing to meet his parents until he stops introducing me as my associate? I have been dating a man for 11 months who introduces me out loud to human beings as his associate. Not once. Not as a slip. It's the word. I am the associate. And I finally told him I will not be meeting his parents, will not get on the plane, will not do the whole big family thing he's been planning, until he can look another person in the eye and use a word that a couple would use. And apparently that makes me difficult. I'm 28. Trey is 34. On paper, he's great, steady, attentive, remembers things, texts back like a functioning adult. The problem is entirely social and entirely bizarre, and I did not see it early because for the first couple months we mostly saw each other alone. The first time it happened, we were at a thing for his friend Luis, some birthday. And Trey walks me up to a group and goes, "Everyone, this is my associate." And I laughed. Because obviously, it's a joke, right? It's a bit. He's doing a little deadpan thing. Except nobody else laughed. They all just said hi. Nice to meet you, like this was a normal introduction, like they'd heard it before. Which they had. Because it's what he calls me. To everyone. I let it slide that night. Second time was his friend Killian and his wife Madison, dinner, and he does it again. This is my associate. And Madison gave me this look. This little pitying flicker, and later in the bathroom she asked me how long we'd been working together. And I realized she genuinely wasn't sure if we were dating or if I was like a colleague he brought. 11 months and some of his friends were not certain I was his girlfriend because the man refuses to say the word. So I asked him about it, calmly, first time. Just, hey, what's with associate? And he goes into this whole thing about how girlfriend sounds juvenile like high school, that he's 34 and it feels silly. That partner sounds like we're opening a law firm or he's hiding that I'm a woman. And that he finds all the relationship words cringe. So he landed on associate as a joke that just stuck. That was his explanation. He finds the word girlfriend embarrassing, so his solution was to make me sound like I'm on his LinkedIn. And here's where it starts to unspool. Because once I actually pushed, more stuff came out that made it worse. It's not just the word. He doesn't post about me, which fine, not everyone does. But he also hadn't told his parents about me. 11 months. His mom, Stacy, apparently knew there was someone, but in the vaguest possible terms. And I only learned that because his sister Christy found me on Instagram and followed me and DM'd me this friendly little message that was basically feeling me out. And in the course of that conversation, it became very clear Christy thought I was brand new. Like weeks new. Because that's the impression Trey had given the family. 11 months and his own sister thought I was a fling. That one actually got me. Because the associate thing I could almost file under quirky commitment phobe with a weird sense of humor, but the family not knowing I existed in any real way, that's a different animal. That's a man keeping me in a drawer. So I confront him, round 2. And this is the conversation that broke it open. I said your sister thinks I'm 3 weeks old. And instead of being embarrassed, he got defensive and said his family is a lot. That they'd smother me. That he was protecting me from them by keeping it low-key. And that once things were more official, he'd bring me in properly. And I said, Trey, we're at 11 months. When exactly does official start? And he didn't have an answer. He just kept saying soon. And when I asked what official even meant to him, he said he didn't know, but it wasn't yet. And I'm sitting there doing the math on a man who won't call me his girlfriend, won't tell his parents I'm real, but has been very enthusiastically planning this big trip for me to meet said parents, and none of it added up. And that's the contradiction I couldn't get past, and still can't. He wants me to fly out and do the whole meet the parents production, big weekend. But he won't upgrade my title from associate, and hasn't told them we're serious. So I'd be flying across the country to be introduced to his mother and father as what, his associate? Am I meeting them as his girlfriend or as a coworker he brought to Thanksgiving? I asked him that directly. He didn't answer it directly. He said I was making it weird. I was making it weird. So I told him no. Not until you fix the word, not until your parents know who I actually am. I'm not getting on a plane to be a mystery guest at your family's table. And that's when it went nuclear. Because he'd apparently already told his mom I was coming. So now Stacy is expecting an associate or a girlfriend or something. Nobody's sure. And when the trip fell apart, Stacy called Christy. And Christy called me, not Trey, M.E. Because at this point, his sister and I have been texting, and she's genuinely lovely. And Christy tells me their mom is upset and confused and thinks I canceled on the family, like I stood them up, when I have never met these people and Trey never even clearly told them I was his girlfriend. Now Christy's mad at Trey on my behalf, which is causing a whole sibling war. Christy basically told him he's an idiot and that he's going to lose me over a word. And Trey's mad at Christy for getting involved and mad at M.E. for talking to Christy, even though his sister reached out to M.E. And Stacy, who has still never spoken to me directly, has apparently decided I'm the problem. The girl who caused all this drama and made her son upset and skipped the trip. So his mother dislikes me and we have literally never exchanged a single word. And Trey's take, his official stance, is that I gave him an ultimatum over semantics. Semantics? Like the difference between girlfriend and associate is a typo. Like his family not knowing I exist for 11 months is a rounding error. He keeps saying it's just a word. It doesn't change how he feels. And I keep saying then it costs you nothing to change it. And he won't. Which tells me it's not nothing. It's actually the whole thing. Meanwhile, my friends are split. Sophie thinks I dodged a bullet. That a man who won't claim you at 11 months is telling you exactly where you rank. Adriana thinks I'm being rigid. That some guys are just awkward and weird about labels and I should give him grace because he's otherwise good to me. And that I'm about to end something solid over one dumb word he uses out of some anxious tic. And maybe he is just awkward. But awkward men manage to say girlfriend. Awkward men manage to tell their mom. So the trip's off. His family thinks I flunked out before I ever showed up. His sister and I are somehow closer than he and I are right now. And he still, to this day, if you put him in front of a stranger, would introduce me as his associate. Am I the jerk for refusing to board a plane to meet parents who don't know I'm his girlfriend? Brought there by a man who won't admit I'm his girlfriend? Am I the jerk for screaming at my brother's girlfriend after months of watching her pick fights with our entire family? I lost it at my brother's girlfriend at a birthday dinner, in front of everyone, and I said things I can't take back. And now half my family says I finally said what needed saying, and the other half says I attacked a sweet girl and ruined the night. And my brother isn't speaking to me at all. So, I need to know. My brother Simon is 30. I'm 32. And we have always been close. Like ride or die close. Our parents divorced when we were kids. And it was messy. And for a long time it was basically me and him against the world. So maybe I'm biased about him, I'll cop to that up front. But I know him, I know his patterns, and the Simon I've watched for the last year with Amber is not a Simon I recognize. He's been with Amber about a year and a half. And I tried. I want that on the record, I tried so hard with her in the beginning. When Simon first brought her around, I did the whole thing. Took her to lunch, just us. Told her how happy I was. Wanted her to feel like family, because our family is small and I wanted him to have someone. And for the first couple months, she was lovely to my face. Sweet, complimentary, remembered everyone's names, brought my mom flowers. I thought, okay, good, he found a nice one. Then the fight started. And they were never big dramatic screaming things, that's what took me so long to see it. It was death by 1,000 cuts. It was always Amber getting quietly, precisely offended by something, and Simon having to spend the rest of the event managing her. My mom Amanda would say some totally normal mom thing, like asking when they might think about moving in together. And Amber would decide it was an attack, would go cold. And Simon would spend the next hour whispering to her in the kitchen, apologizing for his own mother. And then we'd all get the text later about how Amanda made Amber uncomfortable and needed to apologize. Every single gathering. Someone would say something innocent, and Amber would find the knife in it. My Aunt Theodora complimented her dress and asked where it was from, and Amber decided Theodora was implying it looked cheap and didn't speak to her the rest of the night. My cousin Amelia mentioned a restaurant, and Amber took it as a dig about her being vegetarian, which nobody was even thinking about. And every time, the fallout wasn't Amber and that person. It was Amber and Simon. Off in a corner, Simon soothing her, Simon making it right, Simon coming back to the group hollowed out and quiet and asking us to please just be more careful around her. And we started walking on eggshells. That's the part that makes me the angriest looking back. That we all did it. We all started pre-screening every sentence before we said it to her. My mom stopped asking normal questions. Everyone got quiet and careful. And the whole family shrank itself down to keep Amber comfortable, and it still didn't work. Because there was always a new thing. I tried to talk to Simon about it privately, like months ago. Gently. Just, hey, is everything okay? You seem stressed. And he got so defensive so fast, told me I never liked her, which isn't true. I bent over backwards. And he said I was jealous that he had someone and that things were changing. That classic thing where the sibling who raises a concern gets painted as the bitter one who can't handle not being the main person in his life. That hurt. That really hurt, coming from him. Because it's the opposite of true. All I've ever wanted is for him to be happy. I just didn't think he was. So I backed off. For months I backed off, bit my tongue, showed up, played nice, watched him get smaller and smaller. He stopped making plans with me. He stopped answering the group chat. He canceled on our mom twice. He'd always been the guy who'd drop anything for family, and suddenly he was unreachable, and every time we did see him, he was checking his phone like he was waiting to be graded. And I knew she was on the other end of that phone. The dinner was for our mom's birthday. Amanda's 60th, a big deal, we'd planned it for weeks. A restaurant, the whole family. And I told myself no matter what happens, I am keeping my mouth shut. This is mom's night. And it was going okay, actually. Until my mom, at her own birthday, made a toast. A nice one. And in it she said something about hoping to have all her kids and their families around the table for many more years. Generic sweet mom toast. And Amber's face did the thing, the cold thing. And she put her fork down. And I watched Simon clock it and go pale. Because he knew. He knew what was coming. And Amber leaned over and said something to him, and got up and went to the bathroom. And Simon got up to follow her like a dog. At our mother's 60th birthday, mid-celebration, to go manage Amber's feelings about a toast that had nothing to do with her. And something in me just went. A year and a half of it. I got up too, and I caught them by the bathrooms, and I heard the tail end of it. Amber telling him that Amanda's toast was a pointed dig at her. That many more years was Amanda's way of pressuring them. That the whole family does this to her. Ganging up, making her the outsider, and Simon apologizing, again, for a toast his mother made at her own birthday. And I couldn't do it anymore. I told her. Everything loud. I said she had spent a year and a half turning every kind word from this family into an insult so she could keep my brother running in circles apologizing. That nobody was ganging up on her. That she was the common denominator in every single fight. That she'd taught a whole family to be afraid to speak. And that she was doing it at our mother's 60th and Simon was too far gone to see it. I said she was exhausting and cruel, and that she'd been slowly cutting my brother off from every person who loves him, and calling it us being the problem. And it was loud enough that the table heard. My Aunt Theodora came around the corner. It became a scene at my mom's birthday, which I will feel bad about forever. That's on me. I did that. I couldn't hold it for one more night. Amber cried. Immediately. The second I raised my voice, she was crying, and calling me exactly the aggressor she'd always painted the family as. Like I'd handed her the proof. See? This is what they're like. And Simon, my Simon, stepped in front of her, physically, and looked at me like I was a stranger, and told me I was a jealous, controlling bully who'd been trying to sabotage them from day one, and had finally shown my true colors. And he took her and they left. They left our mom's birthday. And Mom was crying. On her 60th. And it was because of me. Or because of Amber. Depending on who you ask. And everyone at that table asks differently, so now it's a full civil war. My mom is somehow mad at Emmy, not because she disagrees about Amber, but because I couldn't give her one peaceful birthday. And she's got a point, and it wrecks me. Theodora and Amelia are firmly on my side. Said it needed to be said. Said someone finally did it. But my other aunt thinks I'm a monster who screamed at a young woman until she cried in a restaurant. And framed that way, out of context, I sound insane. I sound exactly like the villain Amber always said the family was. And Simon won't answer me. It's been long enough now that the silence is its own answer. He sent one text saying I owe Amber an apology, and until then he's done. And I've started 3 different apology texts and deleted all of them because I'm not sorry about what I said. I'm sorry about the where and the when, and I don't know how to apologize for the setting without pretending I was wrong about the substance. And Amber will never accept an apology that isn't total surrender. The worst part is I keep wondering if I just handed her exactly what she wanted. Because now she gets to be the victim of the crazy sister. And Simon gets to see me as the threat instead of her. And I might have just cut myself off from my own brother and done her job for her. Am I the jerk for finally yelling at her after a year and a half of watching her do this to him? Am I the jerk for planning to cut my parents off the second I move out and eventually just disappear from their lives completely? I've never said this out loud to anyone. I'm 24, I still live at home, and I have a countdown in my phone to the day my lease starts on an apartment they don't know about yet. And the plan, the actual plan I think about every night, is to leave and slowly stop existing to them. Not a screaming exit, just fading. Fewer calls, then no calls, then a changed number, then gone. And I need to know if that makes me a bad person, because everything they've ever taught me says it does. Let me try to explain, and I already know it's going to come out messy, because it's 24 years of stuff. My parents are Larry and Andrea. From the outside, they're wonderful. That's the part nobody gets. They're not the parents who hit you or scream slurs or the obvious kind of bad. They show up to things. They post about how proud they are of me. Larry coaches my little cousin's team. Everyone loves Larry. Larry's the fun dad at the barbecue. And that's exactly what makes this so hard to say. Because when I try to explain it to anyone, they go, but they seem so nice. Your mom seems so sweet. And I don't have a single clean story I can hold up that would make a stranger gasp. It's 1,000 small things, and none of them sound like anything on their own. It's the way nothing has ever been mine. My whole life is theirs. What I studied, they chose. I wanted one thing, and Andrea cried. And Larry did the disappointed silence for weeks until I switched. Who I dated, they had to approve. And the one boyfriend I really loved, Esteban. They decided they didn't like him for reasons they never actually named. Just this campaign of little comments until I ended it. And I did end it. Because that's what I do. I fold. I've always folded. My money isn't mine. I've worked since I was 16, and they take board from me even though I live in my childhood bedroom. And they check my account, they have the login. They say it's to help me budget, but really it's so they always know where I am and what I've spent. And I let them. That's the shameful part. For 24 years I let them. Because pushing back costs more than giving in. Because Andrea's tears and Larry's silence are a machine I learned to avoid as a small child. And somewhere along the way, avoiding their disappointment became my entire personality. I don't even know what I like. I've never been allowed to find out. The thing that started cracking it open was my brother. I have an older brother, Maximilian, and he did what I'm planning to do. 5 years ago, he left and he pulled away, and eventually he went basically no contact. And for 5 years in this house, Maximilian has been spoken about like he died. Like he's a tragedy that happened to our parents. Poor Larry and Andrea, their ungrateful son. What did they ever do to deserve it? And I believed that version my whole life. I was the good one. The one who stayed. The one who'd never do that to them. And then a few months ago, Maximilian reached out to me. Just checking if I was okay. And we started talking. In secret. Because if my parents knew I was speaking to him, it would be a catastrophe. And everything he said about growing up in that house was my life. Word for word. The folding, the money, the tears and silence machine. The way you're never a person, you're a project. And he said the thing that's been living in my chest ever since. He said he didn't leave because he stopped loving them. He left because it was the only way to become a person. And that the guilt they'll pour on you is the same tool that kept you small your whole life. Just aimed at your exit. Hearing my brother, the family villain, describe my exact inner life, that's when I understood I wasn't crazy and I wasn't ungrateful. I was the second kid in the same machine. So I started planning. I found an apartment across town. I opened a bank account they don't have access to. I've been moving small amounts. I've been agreeing to everything at home to keep the peace so they don't suspect. Playing the good daughter harder than ever. Which is its own kind of sick because I'm using their own trained obedience as camouflage while I plan to leave. And the whole time I feel like a monster. Because they're not evil. Andrea genuinely thinks she's a loving mother. Larry genuinely thinks he's a great dad. They will never, ever understand what happened here. And disappearing on people who love you in their broken way and can't even see the damage feels crueler than leaving people who hurt you on purpose. And it got more complicated. Because I made a mistake, I confided a little in my Aunt Camilla. Andrea's sister, someone I thought was safe. And Camilla did not take it the way I hoped. Camilla told me I was being influenced by Maximilian, that he'd poisoned me, that I owed my parents everything, that they'd given me a roof and food and love, and that walking away would destroy Andrea, that it would be the cruelest thing I could ever do. And did I want that on my conscience? And I don't know if Camilla told my mom. I genuinely don't. But something shifted at home after that. Andrea got clingier, started asking more questions, started with the "you've been distant lately. Is everything okay? You know you can tell me anything," and every one of those loving questions now feels like a hand checking if the door's still locked. And my cousin Selena, who's close to Camilla, cornered me about it too. Told me family is family and you don't just throw people away. That I'd regret it when they're gone. That I'd be the one crying at a funeral wishing I'd had more time. And maybe she's right. That's the fear that wakes me up. That I'll do this, I'll disappear, and then one day Larry or Andrea will be sick or dying and I'll have thrown away years I could have had. Over what? Over feelings I can't even prove. Over 1,000 small things that sound like nothing. But then I imagine staying. I imagine being 34. Still folding. Still handing over my login. Still ending relationships because Andrea cried. Still not knowing what I actually like. And that's not a life. That's just a longer version of the room I'm sitting in right now, typing this with the door closed so they don't hear me. So here's where I actually am. The lease starts in a few weeks. I haven't told them. I'm going to move out and I'm not planning a big confrontation. I'm not planning to hand them a letter listing their crimes, because they'd just cry and reframe it and make me the villain like they did with Maximilian. And I don't have the strength to fight a machine that's been running since before I could talk. I'm just planning to leave and get smaller in their lives and let them fade and eventually be gone and let them tell everyone at the barbecue that they got cursed with 2 ungrateful children when they were nothing but loving. I don't even know if I want them fully gone forever. Maybe I want space. Maybe I want a version of them I can survive. But I don't think that version exists, and I don't trust myself to hold a boundary halfway, because I've never once held one. I fold. That's the whole problem. And the only way I know to not fold is to not be reachable. Everyone who knows even part of this tells me I'm about to do something unforgivable to 2 people who love me. Am I the jerk for wanting to move out, cut them off, and eventually just disappear? Am I the jerk for talking to 2 guys at once when I wasn't official with either of them? Okay, I need unbiased people because everyone in my life is way too involved to be fair about this. And I'm getting called a liar and a player and a bunch of other stuff, and I don't think I did anything actually wrong. I think I did something messy. And there's a difference. And nobody in my life will let me have that difference. I'm 25. I was talking to 2 guys. That's it, that's the crime. Talking, not dating, not official, not my boyfriend. Nobody had the conversation. And if you're already typing that talking to 2 people is fine when you're single, then bless you, but hold on. Because it got so much more complicated than that, and I need to explain how. Because the way it blew up is genuinely unhinged. So, guy 1 is James. I met James first, like 2 months before we matched, and it was slow and cute, lots of texting, a few dates, and I liked him, but it was taking forever to go anywhere. He's the kind of guy who takes his time and never DTRs, and never puts a label on anything. And I kept waiting for him to make it official, and he just wouldn't. Guy 2 is Ramon. Met Ramon while things with James were in that limbo, and Ramon was the opposite, fast, intense, into me immediately. Made me feel wanted in a way James's whole slow burn thing wasn't. So I was talking to both at the same time. And I told myself that was fine because neither of them had claimed me and I owed neither of them exclusivity. Which is true. I still believe that's true. That part I'll die on. Here's the first complication, and it's a big one. James and Ramon know each other. Not close, but they're in the same wider friend circle, they've got mutual friends, they've been to the same parties. I did not know this when I started talking to them. I found out like 3 weeks in when Ramon mentioned a name. Dean. And I realized Dean is also in James's group, and my stomach did a whole thing, because suddenly the 2 lanes I'd very carefully kept separate had a bridge between them I didn't know about. And I panicked, and I did not handle it well. Because the smart, honest thing would have been to just tell them both, hey, I'm seeing how things go with a couple people. No big deal. We're not exclusive. Instead, I got scared and I kept them separate harder. I got careful about what I posted. I got cagey when either asked what I did over the weekend. And yeah, okay, when you write it out like that, it looks like sneaking. But in my head, I wasn't cheating on anyone. I was just avoiding an awkward conversation. Those are different. I swear they're different. Even though I know how it looks. It came out because of my friend Monica, and this is where I'm partly the I'll give the internet that. Monica knew about both. She's my best friend, she knew the whole situation. And Monica has a big mouth when she drinks. and she was at a thing where Dean was. And she made some joke about me juggling two guys, thinking it was harmless gossip. Not knowing Dean was tight with both James and Ramon. And Dean, being the kind of guy who loves drama, went and told them. Both of them basically ran across the party like Paul Revere. And so James and Ramon found out about each other in the same night, in the same room, from the same guy, that they were both talking to me. And the reason I know exactly how it went down is the group chat. There was a whole group chat happening about me that I wasn't in, that Monica got looped into afterward and screenshotted for me the next day. And reading a chat where two guys and their friends are dissecting you and your game and calling you names is a specific kind of awful that I don't recommend. Now here's the part that made it explode past a normal messy dating situation. Ramon took it as a betrayal, full boyfriend energy, like I'd cheated, even though we'd never once discussed being exclusive. And he decided the story he was going to tell everyone was that I played him and James, that I was some manipulator running two guys for attention. And James, who I actually liked more, who I might have really wanted if he'd ever just committed. James went quiet and cold and hurt, and honestly his reaction wrecked me more than Ramon's rage did. Because James had a real point, which is that even if we weren't official, I'd let him believe I was more available than I was. I'd let him think it was just us moving slow when it wasn't. And that's the thing I keep chewing on. Technically, I did nothing wrong. Nobody was my boyfriend. But technically is doing a lot of work in that sentence, and I know it. Because I wasn't honest. I could have been single and dating two people out loud, and that would have been completely fine, and instead I hid it. And the hiding is the part I can't fully defend. The hiding turned single girl dating around into she was sneaking. And those read so differently even though the actions are almost the same. Then it got worse because the friend group took sides and it became a whole civil war that had nothing to do with me anymore. Ramon's friends were all in on the she's a player narrative. Some of the girls in the group, Jane and Livia, defended me hard. Said a single woman can talk to whoever she wants, and the guys were being babies about not having called dibs. But my friend Loretta, who I thought was my friend, went the other way. Sided with the guys. Said I'd embarrassed everyone and that I did James dirty. And Loretta and Jane got into a screaming fight at a pregame about ME, about whether I was a victim of a double standard or a liar who got caught, and I wasn't even there. I found out from Isabella who was. And Monica, who literally started the whole thing with her drunk mouth, is now acting like the injured party because the group's mad at her for leaking it. And she keeps apologizing to me, but also keeps kind of implying that I put her in a bad position by having a secret in the first place. Which, okay, both things can be true. But read the room, Monica. So now Ramon's blocked me and is telling the whole circle I'm a heartless player. James unblocked me long enough to send one message that just said he thought I was different, which is somehow worse than anything Ramon screamed. Half the friend group thinks I'm a victim of two entitled men who never had a claim on me. Half thinks I'm a manipulative liar. My two best friends are fighting each other, and I'm sitting here genuinely unable to tell which one I am. Because here's my honest question, stripped of everyone's agenda. Is it wrong to talk to two people when you're single and unlabeled? No, I really don't think it is. Was it wrong to hide it once I knew they knew each other? Maybe. Probably. That's the part I did wrong. But everyone's treating me like I committed some crime of the heart, when what I actually did was be a coward about an awkward text. Am I the jerk for talking to two guys at once?